Welcome to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprofit.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey. And today we're talking week 5 already. Week 5 waiver wire in the NFL. And I don't love this week, but hey, there's some guys that maybe can help your team. So let's go check them out, see what we got here. So, Jeff, I think my top pick for the week is going to probably have to be Tim Patrick after what he did for the Broncos on Thursday night. He was good. He really was. He was just really good. He was outplaying Jerry Jeudy at this point. And I mean, that's it. It's Patrick and it's Jerry Jeudy. Hamler went down, it looks like, with another injury. I mean, obviously Sutton's out for the year. Patrick and Jeudy are the guys, and Patrick was really looking good in a week where the options, a lot of these options are going to be, you're still working off potential. I think Tim Patrick should be on your radar for a pickup this week. He should be one of the top. So.
Yeah, I can get behind that 100%. He looked really good. He looked comfortable. We'll find out if he has that same, that same connection when Locke comes back. But especially for next week, if it's going to be a streamer, you're right, because a lot of these guys that I want to talk about are either coming off of injury and you want to get them early, or they haven't proven themselves. So I like what you're saying about Tim Patrick. It makes a lot of sense. And obviously he looks like a good wide receiver at the moment. Yeah. On a team that has a shaky quarterback situation at the moment. And he's been able to, the last 2 weeks, kind of turn it into good outings. So I like that pick.
So after you get Tim Patrick, who to me is, a solid option, it already starts to become, I think you're still, I'm not going to say you're fully in potential yet, but the next guy, this would depend on what Chris Godwin's situation was to me. It'd be Scotty Miller. But I think Chris Godwin, it seems like he could be back next week. If he is, then Scotty Miller's, you think, value would take a hit, right? But he's been valuable. He's been playing with him. He would be up there. I think without Godwin, Scotty Miller should be up the list. With Godwin, he kind of probably drops a little bit, but he was good. He was good this past week, and he's been pretty solid player. So I don't know where you would slot Miller in here.
Yeah, I don't think the upside is gigantic with this guy, right? I think there's a lot of younger guys that you can get.
Yep.
I started Scotty Miller in a tough spot this week. And what I liked about him, obviously Godwin, you're absolutely right. You have to take that into consideration. Godwin is going to eat up a lot of targets when he's there. Scotty Miller has been targeted by Tom Brady quite a few times, and today they finally connected. Before that, they didn't really. It was always he was, slightly behind the ball. He couldn't quite get to it. So I do worry that that is going to be kind of the entire year, that he'll every once in a while he'll show up. But when you have big names like Godwin and Evans, and he's always going to play that third fiddle, if even that, and he's not always going to throw 5 touchdowns in a game. So in a pinch, I like him to stream, especially if Godwin's not going to be there next week. But I'm not overly optimistic that he is going to continue that kind of production moving forward. But you're in a hard spot right now. But that's only me saying, hey, there's a few other guys that are younger. Maybe they haven't proved themselves, but they have a higher upside. I'd rather take a shot at them.
Yep. So, all right. So talk about those guys, but how about the young guys then? There's still some young guys that I'm excited about in here. So I have at least 3 of them, I think, here. So.
I was going to say, yeah, there's definitely 3. And I don't know which one you want to attack first, but let's talk about I think the one that is being involved in his team's chemistry and the game plan more than not is Laviska Shenault. I think he's got to be one of the names we talk about. If you watched our recap, they're trying to give him the ball, even like here, rush it a few times. You're the number 2 after Chark, it feels like. So I do like the way they're going with that. He seems like a good athlete in general. What do you think his outlook for the year is, though? Because you can get him, you can throw him in your lineup. But obviously, if you grab a young guy like this, you would like him to keep developing. How do you feel about that going forward?
I think he can keep developing. I think this is like we've seen only a little bit of what he can do so far. Obviously, they thought highly of him to get him the ball as early as they did, like the first couple of weeks, in many different ways. When they were trying to get him, rushes, it just shows me that they like this kid. and they want to use him, and it's not going away. And if this team if Chark is there, I think, and everybody is there, this can actually start to become together a little bit more, and maybe Shenault even has a better shot. And I think he's only going to get better from here. I don't know how. I mean, he does have a pretty high potential here, but I don't know if he's going to reach that all this year, obviously. But I think he's just going to get better. I don't think I think you can slot him in, on with these bye weeks coming up. Bye weeks starting next week already. So with bye weeks, and actually, I guess they started this past week. So
forced start.
Yeah, but with bye weeks and things like that, and even like in 3 receiver leagues at your flex spot, I think he could be played, especially with all the injuries we've had. Shenault is going to be involved, and I like him. I think he's going to start. He's only going to get better, and I think it's a good pickup. And I think we've brought him up almost literally every waiver wire show this year.
Yeah,
so
quite a few times. Yeah.
Please just pick him up at this point. So, my next young guy. I went with T. Higgins here. Next.
Okay, I was wondering. Sure, yeah. I like him a lot. He was. I think we have the same 3 players we're going to be talking about then. Yeah, T. Higgins. And once again, we kind of talked about it. I'm of the belief. AJ Green, I don't think he's completely done. They keep trying to get him the ball, but the more he doesn't get the ball, the more it goes to T. Higgins. And T. Higgins has been delivering. And I like where Joe Burrow is. I think that is a situation where everything will just continue to get better, especially if Mixon can, be that kind of weapon for them where they do have to worry about the run. It only helps, T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. And I don't know this for sure. I think there's enough to go around even if AJ Green is there, but for me, it does feel like AJ Green, this would be a good time for Cincinnati to move on and get something for him, because I still think he could be very helpful to another team. Yep. They're not going to get into the playoffs this year, but they're young and they have a lot of talent. So if he does move, T. Higgins only moves up, but I think he's good even without something like that going down. I like where this guy is at in his development for year one as a rookie.
He's had a couple good weeks in a row. He's involved. He looks good. He looks the part. So Higgins for sure for me.
I do have to say, you do have 2 rough games coming up though against Baltimore and Indianapolis. So don't get hurt if he doesn't produce against good defenses like that. But they should be still enough work for him to still produce yardage even in those contests. But we'll see.
Yep. All right. So I guess my third guy. Let's see if we have the same. I don't know if we do or not. I went with Brandon Nyuk.
Yeah.
So, yep. So, that touchdown run he had against the Eagles is just ridiculous. That just showed everything. He doesn't need to do anything else in the entire game but that. And that will show me enough right now that this guy has some talent. And at some point, it's all going to be shown, right? At some point, they're going to use it all. And that was just an awesome run. I'm just basing it off one run at this point. But one hurdle, basically. But it was impressive. And he's a talented guy who's going to get more work, especially with this wide receiver group with 49ers, which is, Debo's back now, it looks like. But other than that, Ayuk's going to get a shot. And Kittle, obviously, is like their number 1 pass catcher. But he's definitely going to get a shot, and he's very talented. He might be, I don't know. He has a really good shot to break. He has a high ceiling, high potential here for sure. But we'll see if he can get there if the usage is there.
Oh, definitely. It will be interesting. It's a different situation. Obviously, they run the ball a ton, and this is also with a lot of those running backs being hurt as well. So you do have to factor that in. But at the same time, that's why they got this guy. He's a very unique talent, kind of like the same reason they got Debo. I don't have it off the top of my head. I think he was in the top 5, if not one of the best after the catch in college, and that's what they really liked. And they showed it the last 2 weeks. They found a way to let him rush it, and he's gotten a touchdown rushing in the last 2 weeks. So I want to make sure that this is going to continue as far as how he can produce as a receiver alone. But a lot like we talked about with Shenault is, hey, they really like the guy. They want to get him involved. They're finding interesting ways to do it. I'm on board with Ayuk. I think he could be, like you said, a very high ceiling player. I don't know how it's going to look when all the pieces are back together, though. That's my only worry with this one. When you have Debo healthy, when you have Garoppolo healthy, and you have, all the running backs with Mostert and whatever, whoever else is back there, that might change how many touches he gets. But I really like the upside of this kid.
All right, and that ends the list of players that I'm interested in. So.
Actually, very true. There's a few more.
There's some other names, so yes. I'll say. I'll stick with wide receivers even.
Okay.
So Treyquan Smith had a solid game. I like Treyquan Smith, but with this would be different. This depends too on Michael Thomas. Is Michael Thomas back? If Michael Thomas is back next week, obviously Treyquan Smith drops down for me. If Michael Thomas is not, I think you can get another good week from Treyquan Smith. So a lot of this is going to base on injury. I think he's a talented receiver though. He also, to me, he kind of looks that part to me of like a top, big time receiver, with that potential. I don't know if he can quite live up to that, but I like Treyquan Smith. It's just, once Michael Thomas is back, that changes everything, right? It's just not going to be that interested in him after that. I don't know who else you got here.
The other one, just because he's barely under where we're allowed to talk about it, but MVS, so, Valdez-Scantling. Hey, Alan Lazard was looking good, and now he had to have a minor surgery. He's going to be out for however long. MVS has got to be the number 2. We've been burned by this before, but I think obviously he's an easy one to take a shot at, especially if you're looking for a streamer. I think he would be the other guy. I always like the upside of like a McCole Hardman or something, but you can never predict it. You're still kind of
I'm waiting away. I've been interested in McCole Hardman for some reason. I don't know, that the nice touchdown he had the other day or last week. In week 3, just how easily he beat the defender. It was just ridiculous. Like if he
so fast,
I mean, if he gets it, I think there's a breakout at some point. It's not here yet. And it's hard to trust it. Obviously, I feel at some point it's going to happen. I feel like he's good enough.
In the during the summer or during the preseason, I remember I had him as like my breakout player. And that was before Watkins signed again.
Yeah,
and that really did hurt him. But it is only a matter of time. I truly believe that.
Yep.
But other than that, there's no other wide receivers I want to talk about.
So there's the only other wide receiver I'll throw out there just in case he needs some kind of safe option. And this is almost even more PPR. He gets at least 5 to 6 catches. Is Hunter Renfrow. He's been okay. He's been a decent player. It's not exciting. This can be more like 12-team leagues, 14-team leagues. He's definitely interesting in that regard, but not. He doesn't have this like major upside, I don't feel like, but he could be safe. So if you're looking for that kind of player, there you go. But yeah, that's about it there for me as well for wide receivers. Running backs, what do you got? There's maybe 1 or 2 names here, maybe 3 names, maybe 4 names. Nothing, not a.
There's not a lot.
Yeah, it's an interesting week. It's not the same.
The one that I'm really interested in is actually, and you're not going to start him right away either. I think you just have to get him before anything could happen. But I think you grab Damian Harris because this is about the time that they're going to activate him from the IR. Sony Michel has actually looked pretty decent, but I don't know what's going to go on with Cam, with all of this. So it is very like, I'm not telling you to grab him and throw him, in your starting lineup. I think you grab him now because for all we know, he could play, tomorrow.
Yeah. It actually might. He might be.
That is my thing. He has upside. Take the shot now. Don't overpay for this guy if he scores a touchdown or something.
Yeah, we're recording this before the Patriots game starts, and there is talk that he could get activated. So I'm interested to see what happens. He is going to make the waiver wire list. I have him at the bottom of the list. He's like the very last player, but I think he's worth an ad. So. I'll say some other guy. I think Chase Edmonds is definitely worth.
I knew that you were going to put him on there. You're just waiting for.
I know
Drake to fail.
I feel like
he looked good in the limited time. They threw it to him quite a bit, so I am on board with that. That's great.
Yep, I think for sure that he should be added. I'll throw out Dearness Johnson from the Browns. He played really well after Chubb went down, and it could be a split between Hunt and Johnson. Hunt will be the main guy, but Johnson was good enough to show that, he should get a shot. And the way the Browns are playing right now, so the Browns against the Cowboys had 40 carries for 307 yards. One running back is not going to do that for you. They need multiple guys. Dearness Johnson might get that shot. And I think he's worth, especially for anybody that has Hunt, you should go pick up Dearness Johnson. So you might end up with Hunt, Chubb, and Dearness Johnson on your team, probably, if you got both of those guys before. So you have 3 Browns running backs, but I think he's worth an ad there for sure. And then I'll say the other one I had was Justin Jackson for the Chargers. I think, again, we'll see a split between Justin Jackson and Joshua Kelly if Eckler's badly hurt as we think. And I'm not excited about Justin Jackson. I think he's a guy. He's just a guy, right? But he might be a guy with some volume. So I don't know if there's any other names out there I'm missing at running back. I think this is this is one of the weakest running back weeks I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, there's not a lot out there, to be quite honest. Before we move on completely from the Chargers, what are your feelings about assuming Eckler is out for multiple weeks? What does that do for, the production of the other guys? Obviously, Justin Jackson, you said, okay, he'll get more touches, but do you think that immediately, Kelly is going to step into kind of the Eckler role and you should see a big jump in his production, or do you think it's going to land on Herbert throwing him more?
I think it's going to land on Herbert throwing them more because I don't think they have that replacement for Eckler. I don't think they have that guy who can really do what Eckler can do. I mean, Kelly, maybe they'll catch some balls, but it's just not going to be the same. I think their running game's really not going to get going too well, and they're just going to have to throw the ball around, which could be good for Keenan Allen, maybe Hunter Henry, or we might just have to give up on this whole Hunter Henry's really great thing, which is still, I feel like he is, but it's not happening. I think it's just going to be more Herbert throwing the ball around. I think that's what's going to play out to be. So other than that, tight end wise, I'll just throw a couple names. I think, Dalton Schultz from the Cowboys has put up some solid games. He's probably worth an ad if you're really, scrambling for tight end. I mean, people are going to say Mo Alley Cox because he scored a couple times, but it was only off one catch this past week. So I'm not, not like I'm not like really going out of my way to say go pick up Mo Alley Cox. I'll say that. It's one catch for a touchdown isn't always the greatest, but Schultz is getting a little more volume. There really isn't at the tight end position a lot going on below our 40% mark. I'll say that there's just not a lot there, and there's just not much there at that spot. So not a lot unless you have a name that I'm not thinking of, but I don't think it's there.
No, it's really not there. I think you hit it. Schultz is the big one. It looks like they're going to use him quite a bit. He's had a couple touchdowns. Even the yardage is there. So you can safely insert him into your starting lineup if you need to on a bye week or whatever it would be for tight end. He'd be the only one that I really feel comfortable with.
Yep. And then quarterback-wise, so you could throw out Justin Herbert, right? I mean, he's starting to become interesting. So Justin Herbert maybe could be an ad, but let's look at this as is there a streaming option for week 5? And that's the thing. I don't think there really is. So Justin Herbert playing at New Orleans might even be one of the better streaming options. Because here's the other guys, if you go 40% and under. You got Ryan Tannehill, but he's playing against Buffalo. You don't love that, really, do you? Daniel Jones. Okay, Daniel Jones is going against Dallas. That seems like it should be good, right? But Daniel Jones has been so bad. I can't with any in good conscience recommend that as much as I feel like
no way I start Daniel Jones.
No, it can't happen.
Not a chance.
Then you got Ryan Fitzpatrick at the 49ers. You don't love that. You got Baker Mayfield going against Indianapolis. Indianapolis has been great on defense, and the Browns are probably just going to run the ball, right? I don't like that. You got Kirk Cousins going at Seattle. Okay, Seattle hasn't been maybe the greatest on defense this year, but Kirk Cousins hasn't been good either. So you can't go with that. Derek Carr playing against Kansas City. Nick Foles against Tampa. I mean, Rivers at Cleveland. Bridgewater. Maybe Teddy Bridgewater at Atlanta Falcons. There you go, right? That's the one.
Maybe. I actually kind of, depending on if – I don't know where Garoppolo is on coming back, but I kind of like Nick Mullins against Miami.
That could be interesting. That's where the interesting one could be. Maybe you go Mullins, but it's just not a
great streaming. I mean, and that is still why, even against Buffalo, I would probably lean towards Tannehill because at least I know what I'm getting with him.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of touch and go with all these. Some of them have real hard schedules, like you said. Indianapolis is no joke. They've made some quarterbacks look really bad already.
Yeah, they've been solid. It's not a great week if you're used to streaming quarterbacks, which I don't know how many people are anymore. But if you've lost somebody, or Cam Newton randomly is out for a week, you never know when you're going to need a guy, and it's not great options this week. So, all right, let me look. I'll just throw some defenses out here. Let me pull up the defensive schedule. Let's see what we got here for players down the list. And now, the Colts and teams like that, you're finally getting owned, so you can't get them. But let's see, who do we got? I like the Cardinals playing against the Jets. There we go. Right. I mean, that's an awesome one. Cardinals are they're below 50%. They're about 41% owned. So they're in that range where they could be available. Cardinals at Jets. You got to love that matchup, right? And okay, the Cowboys have been absolutely terrible on defense, but would you play them against the Giants? I mean, you think about it. You would definitely think about it.
Oh my God, that is so bad.
It's risky, but
I might actually. I don't know if I would.
It's rough. Yeah,
they've been negative when. Let me look at them. Yeah,
I know. It's just the Giants are
negative the last 3 weeks. I mean, even the first one against the Rams, they only scored 3. Yeah, I can't do it. Even a cupcake walk like that, I don't believe that they'll score a whole lot. I don't think there's a lot of upside to that.
Basically, it's Cardinals. You go get the Cardinals playing against the Jets, right? That's about the best.
Yeah, I think
best bet you have.
That one's good.
And maybe even Jacksonville going against Houston. Houston hasn't been terribly impressive, but Jacksonville's not like great. But if you need somebody and there's nothing out there, try to pick a team like that, I guess. But I don't have one other than that. Cardinals.
You know what? I wouldn't mind, even though it's not a great matchup, but if we're getting to the point where we're wondering if we would, start Dallas, I don't mind the Chiefs, to be quite honest.
Playing against the Raiders? Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be playing against the Raiders, and if their offense gets going, it really means that, the other team has to throw into hyperdrive and force the ball. Yep. They might get a few turnovers that way. So I don't mind that one. That one feels a little safer to me than some of the other ones that we've thrown up, but I agree with you. I think Cardinals number 1.
Yep. All right. That's about all I got for waiver wire. We had a pretty good waiver wire a couple weeks ago, and now it's kind of gone the opposite way. So we'll see if that changes at some point. But all right, that will do it for today. We'll be back tomorrow. Talk to you guys then.